Hello, my name is Christopher Black. I will be overviewing my 2018 Practicum experience for Liberty University Online's Master of Public Health program. I have a concentration in health promotion. My practicum assignment was to gain practical experience with a program or organization which focuses on public health need in the local community. I currently reside in Anchorage, Alaska, where the public health initiatives are most often state-involved or handled through the various native corporations. My background experience is concentrated in physical activity, running programs to promote physical activity for adolescents and youth populations. With former degrees in exercise science and public health, I have focused my master's coursework on the need for physical activity promotion to combat the rising pandemic of obesity worldwide. Finding the practicum hosts first required persuasive writing and an oral presentation of attractive skills that the practicum site would benefit from. Next slide. After reaching out to organizations to determine my practicum host, I was accepted under the State of Alaska Division of Public Health's Obesity Prevention and Control program. My research and coursework had focused on physical activity as a main proponent for treating and eliminating chronic diseases which had accompanied the changes in lifestyle today with modern jobs. As with all effective public health programs, the Obesity Prevention and Control program focused on a multidimensional intervention to eliminate barriers to physical activity adoption in adolescent populations, as well as to educate parents of the benefits of physical activity. Next slide. For my practicum experience, I was brought on board to design, implement, and evaluate a workplace wellness initiative promoting use of local trails and parks. Although Alaska is home to beautiful scenery, the obstacles to long-term physical activity participation are complex and numerous. I helped to develop an initial survey using key informant interviews to assess the knowledge, intentions, attitudes, and behaviors of our participating sites. Our two participating sites were Aleutian Pribilof Island Association and Catholic Social Services. These two sites each represent diverse members of the community with fluctuations in ethnicity, education, and socioeconomic status. Next slide. The staff of the sites are equally diverse, but the initial survey did not include questions related to these characteristics. Questions included on the survey measured knowledge of evidence-based recommendations for physical activity, duration per week, perceived barriers to physical activity, and perceived benefits or incentives available to participate in physical activity. Next slide. The Workplace Initiative project partnered with the Anchorage Park Foundation in order to encourage the use of walking trails and parks within Anchorage. Together, we designed a walking trail map unique to each worksite that identified a trail within walking distance from the workplace. Each map included a legend with an important landmarks such as viewing points, rivers, bridges, crosswalks, and other incentives to participate. The distance of the trail and the landmarks are shown on the map in quarter-mile, kilometer, and estimated steps from the worksite. Further information is provided on the back side of the printed map, with tips to avoid dangerous encounters with wildlife, weather conditions, and what to bring on the trail to be best prepared. Next slide. After I designed the survey online with SurveyMonkey and shared them with the stakeholders of each worksite for final revision, the survey was distributed to the staff members of each location. Entry to a $30 gift card raffle for survey participation was communicated at the beginning of the survey and through the worksite email before staff opened the link to the survey. Results from the survey were recorded through analyzation feature on SurveyMonkey. The feedback from each worksite led to a customized presentation to address the perceived barriers, level of knowledge, and perceived benefits of walking on nearby trails outside the workplace. The presentation included slides addressing such information as well as video presentation of each trail and a trivia quiz. The video presentation used a handheld gimbal for the iPhone X to record the entire trail walk. I made sure to choose a bright, sunny day, chose a time that the trail would be occupied, and brought my dog along in order to create the feeling of a safe, inviting trail. The entire trip was sped up to about 300% of the normal speed, besides slowing down to showcase important landmarks identified on the map. Next slide. Lastly, the trivia quiz reinforced learning by asking questions related to the information presented in the PowerPoint slides. A short post-presentation survey was given out to better understand what the worksite felt went well and what the site may have wanted the presentation to include. Finally, a short walk on the trail together with the worksite staff concluded the intervention. 1 month's time was given in order to send out the post survey, which had many of the same questions as the initial survey. Next slide. Perceived barriers are related to safety. They included encountering strangers on the trails, wildlife and weather conditions. Due to the fluctuating seasons in Alaska, particularly the temperature and the daylight, it's understandable to have these concerns fluctuate as well. As we move into summer, we prioritize the responses based on the level of significance. In the presentation, we addressed evidence-based strategies to avoid or eliminate these dangers. Further, we referenced local community partners whom provided safety-related equipment. The state gave away the reflective gear jackets to any of the worksite staff who desired it. Next slide. Changes in attitude, knowledge, behavior, and intentions were measured through differences in responses. Individual change was not measured because survey response was anonymous. However, changes in knowledge, attitude, and intention were positive. Changes in behavior were also positive, showcasing an increase in overall physical activity levels and a moderately strong change in worksite trail use. Particularly, the changes were mostly related to increases in overall physical activity despite whether they were using trails, parks, or other forms of physical activity. It was communicated that all forms of physical activity in the correct amount of intensity and the correct amount of duration all had physical activity benefits. Changes in that knowledge was also measured and showed strong significance in changing positively, as well as there were many changes in the ideas of how many related opportunities they had available to them. Next slide. Future recommendations include a longer length of time between the worksite presentation and the post survey. The changes in behavior may be acute or still forming following 1 month. Further, extinction of the behavior may occur at a later time as an important factor to be considering. Adjusting for changes in season also is an important consideration. The intervention took place during the transition from spring to summer, and the daylight hours are increasing. The temperature is also rising. These are important to consider and can be assumed to contribute to the increase in physical activity and trail use. A multi-dimensional approach to the survey also is necessary. Worksite health is a complex issue and the barriers to achievement are diverse. Partnerships within the local community should encourage physical activity opportunities that are open to the economically disadvantaged, the physically and mentally disabled, and all demographics despite their level of education, sex, age, or capability. Future recommendations also state that the project should have a larger scope with greater opportunities available highlighted on a larger map. An Anchorage map would be more appropriate, highlighting trails and parks which the worksite can take advantage of, whether they are at home or they are at work or whether they are commuting. This gives more opportunity and more ability for Anchorage residents to take advantage of their local opportunities for physical activity. Lastly, the measurements should be taken longer in duration from when they first post follow-up as well, and they should also have multiple seasons evaluated. Thank you for listening, and that is the end of my presentation.